the neck, although you can actually play, you can depress these basses. Because before the bandura came on the scene, this was a bandura. But today we call this a kobza. And we differentiate because we have two very different instruments. One is you play the melody mainly on the neck, like a guitar or a lute or a classical guitar. Even though we have treble strings, which are kind of additional strings, they're not the main strings. With the bandura, we play more like a zither or harp. And because we have two terms and two different instruments, today we differentiate. But in Versailles' time, Versailles was the last kobzar who played the kobza. After him, everybody switched to the bandura because it was easier. It's very different. But this is a kobza, and actually something similar to Versailles' instrument. The question is, well, what's the difference? And you'll hear the difference. The kobza is even lighter than the bandura, right? It's like a feather. Look how you can imagine. And they should be. They're made of, we have nylon strings, but traditional kobzas would have been of gut. Basically sheep's intestines processed. It's a big process. But because gut strings were the only available strings you could have, metal strings came on the scene in Ukraine only about 120 years ago. So they were quieter instruments, but a good kobza, you can hear it. Incredible instruments, which really, honestly, the banduras, we have instruments in museums. The kobzas, we have none, no museum instruments. Well, there's some later instruments that were with metal strings and actually had frets. Those are also kobzas, but these types of instruments, none existed. So this is made from a photo, right? But that's okay. I believe that there's information, and enough information, if you go looking for it. Yes?
What particular wood would you use?
Traditionally, fruit woods, willow is a good one. I use maple. This is actually white maple. As we say, what God gives us. Basically, as they made the road, the main east-west road in Ukraine wider to have a football tournament, the Yevro, they chopped down all these huge white maples. And I thought, wow, I think it's time to collect some wood, and I paid them a little bit for loading it in the car, but a pittance really. And so I have lots of maple, not just for myself, but for my students. God provides, you know. Yes.
Is that thing hollow or solid?
It's hollow. It's very hollow. It's actually very thin body. But this is actually it's a monoxyle, right? You can look. This isn't made like a guitar, like a box. It's basically one big piece of wood. These aren't glued pieces together. And it's very wasteful, actually, because we waste all this wood and a lot of... but that was the way of making, the easiest way that in a rural setting, an amateur can make his own instrument. You just kind of take a big block of wood, you draw the perimeter, you saw it out, you start carving it out. So monoxyle, made of a solid piece, but the deck is of spruce, or Carpathian spruce, excellent material. So the question is, well, how does the kobza sound?